Hello, BSc final year students. Today I will be continuing the next episode of the green chemistry. So last time I have dealt about what is green chemistry, what are the conditions, and what are the principles of green chemistry. Now today I want to discuss starting from the 12 principles of the green chemistry and continue with the first 6 points of the green chemistry today, and the remaining thing we will discuss in the next episode. So as already we have noticed, green chemistry is a design of chemical products and process that reduce or eliminates use and or generation of hazardous substances. So in general, green chemistry mainly concerned with waste minimization at source, use of catalyst in place of reagents, use of non-toxic reagents, use of renewable source. Then important of atom economy, use of solvent free or recyclable system, environmentally friendly solvent system. So all these are to be understood in depth one by one. So in 1990s to 1998, Paul Anasta and his team worked together such a new method or concept of green chemistry where the things are to be dealt with more precisely. So according to Paul Anasta, the new method of thinking of prevention of environment, either it may be solid, that is soil, liquid, water, or the atmosphere where the gases are there, which are to be polluted by human mistakes or human being by performing so many adversable reaction system in the universe. So the 12 principles of green chemistry which I have just mentioned last time, I wanted to repeat. The first is prevention. It is better to prevent the waste than to treat or clean up the waste after it is formed. So generally it is just like a prevention is better than cure. So there are so many reactions which are using some system will produce the waste. Obtaining product is easy, but maintaining the waste or utilizing the waste at the end of the reaction is a difficult task. So for that reason, one has to design such a reaction where the waste should be minimum in the chemical reaction system. Atom economy. So it is a new method of thinking. Whatever the atoms used for the chemical reactions, okay, their calculation is important, and the product in terms of atom is considered to be more economical for synthetic purpose. We will discuss this later on. Less hazardous chemical system. Whenever practicable, the synthetic methods should not be designed to use and generate substance that possess little or no toxicity to the human health and environment. So when we talk about certain chemical reactions, certain chemical reactions. We come across some solvent for chemical reaction, and these solvents are sometimes toxic in nature. For example, the hydrocarbon, aromatic hydrocarbon like benzene, toluene, xylene, they are highly toxic, and they are still using somewhere and here and there in industry as well as in laboratory as a solvent. So it is a very dangerous for a chemist to go through such solvents, so which are hazardous. Therefore, we have to use less hazardous chemical substances during the synthesis. Designing safer chemicals. So one has to design, it is just like engineering work, one has to design that the chemicals must be safer when they are used either in the reactant system or product system or byproducts formed during a chemical reaction. So that should be noted very carefully. Then the next one is safer solvent and auxiliaries. So when you were using the solvents, the routine solvents are now found to be no more, means they are not in use. Therefore, the safer solvent, that they are called as the auxiliaries, are come into force for most of the reaction. For example, the solvent water or solvent CO2 are the best solvent rather than the usual solvent using during the reaction system. Designing for energy efficiency. So whenever a reaction is designed, the energy efficiency of the reaction system is to be noted very carefully. Here, you are supplying more energy and getting the less product, not advisable. Therefore, the chemist or in generally scientist must think the energy utilization should be minimum and the product formation is a maximum. So such kind of designing of reaction is very important nowadays. Then the seventh is use of renewable feedstock. A raw material or feedstock should be renewable rather than depleting whenever technically or economically practical. So this is another aspect of green chemistry. We are using the raw materials. Sometimes the raw material may be one of the byproducts or may be unwanted material in the chemical reaction. So we have to design or we have to use the raw material in such a fashion that they can be reused, that is a recyclable process. Then the next one is reduce derivatives. So in chemical reaction, to carry out certain methods, we are applying different methods, and these different methods have certain set of reaction system. For example, in the synthesis of peptides, polypeptides, certain functional groups are to be protected and deprotected, and reactions are to be carried out to get a product, and it requires several steps. So meanwhile, in every steps, the degradation is not possible. Derivatives are possible. So one has to avoid as far as possible, reduce the derivatives as far as possible. Instead of carrying out 10 steps of reaction, better 2 to 3 steps to get the final product. This is a new way of thinking of reducing the derivative. Catalyst. Now, if A and B reacting in presence of a solvent or a catalyst giving the product, this is a routine ideology we are having. But nowadays, A react with the catalyst. Catalyst itself is a reagent, which is one of the reagent which act as a catalyst, which act as a reagent for the reaction system, and giving the product, so that the other reagent are avoided in the system. So that is another possibility, that the catalyst should act as a reagent during some chemical process. So that sort of thing should be thought of. Then designing of degradation. So it is better to understand a polymer reaction. So whenever polymers are formed, the polymers, when come into open market or open area, they are non-degradable, means they cannot be broken very easily under normal condition on the surface of earth or in the entire universe. So nowadays there are certain polymers which are designed. They undergo degradation. Degradation is a process where it is thrown on soil for several hours, 4 to 5 hours. Automatically the polymers undergo breaking. So this is the new way of thinking, that degradation of chemical, if it is possible with the formation of the product, then it is more convenient to go for the synthetic process. Then real-time analysis and pollution prevention. Analytical methodologies need to be fruitfully developed to allow the real-time in-process monitoring and control prior to the formation of a hazardous substance. So one has to think, if a reaction is going on and we know at a certain interval of time the products are formed, if we are not maintaining the time, then there is a possibility of formation of some poisonous material, that is a hazardous substances. So if we carry out the reaction in time, then ultimately one can control the reaction system. Otherwise, the hazardous chemicals will come into force. Inherently safer chemicals for accident prevention. So nowadays, this is one of the important point one has to notice. Accident in industry should be minimized. As already we have noted in case of a Bhopal tragedy and in case of recently at Chennai polystyrene incident. So due to the lack of communication between the operators or the system itself, somewhere the leakage is done, and that causes lot of damage, not to the human beings but to the environment also. So to avoid such things, one has to set up an industry through the proper engineers in such a manner that there should not be any chemical accidents in the industrial process. So that is a very important point. So all these 12 points are, and more than 12 points are also there, planned by Anasta, Warner and their group in 1998, and they are now found to be more useful in chemical synthesis. Now the first point, the principle of green chemistry involves prevention. So I have shown in picture, you can carry out the chemical reaction and get the product. That product, whatever form, it will have maximum waste, then that route is not correct. So you have to find out a chemical process where there is no waste. So if there is no waste, then that is considered to be best way of chemical method. But in practice, it is not possible to have such an ideal thing. But one can have an idea that prevention or minimization of waste, it is better to prevent the formation of waste rather than to treat or clean up the waste formed afterwards. This is the first important step in the control of pollution. So, pollution can be prevented by taking maximum steps to using minimization of waste in a chemical reaction. For this, we are having the new science and technological method that is called nanoscience and nanotechnology. So according to the nanoscience and nanotechnology, in green chemistry, the nanomaterials play vital role, because the nanoparticles are having a very small size, that is 10 to the power minus 9. So you can just imagine what a teeny particle, small particle it is, and that can be utilized for most of the chemical reactions or most of the designing the safer systems. And if we are using nanoparticles, then definitely it will give good result. And the waste is 100% minimized. But one thing is, getting the nanoparticles at present situation is a little bit not so easy. So it requires a lot of time. But we hope in future nanotechnology plays an important role to save the environment and prevent the entire system. So nanotechnology provides huge saving in materials by development of microscopic and submicroscopic electronic and mechanical devices. So in general, according to the first principle, prevention of the waste formation during a chemical reaction should be very minimum. That is the best suggestions made by Anasta. Now second one is maximize atom economy. Suppose a reaction A plus B react to give a product. So reactant will get converted into product, and the number of atoms used in the reactant system as well as product system are known. If we are getting the more number of product, means more number of atoms of good product, then that is considered to be more better. Otherwise, if we are using a reaction where the reactants are more but the product is less, then it is not feasible. Why? Because every atom present in reactant system as well as in the product system must be well clearly calculated. Then and then only we will get the atom economy. Barry Trost of Stanford University considered an atom is a terrible thing to waste and developed a concept of an atom economy. Synthetic methods should be designed to maximize the incorporation of all starting materials in the final product. So, according to Barry Trost, if you want to find out the final yield of a chemical reaction is equal to actual quantity of product divided by theoretical quantity of reactant multiplied by 100, that will give you the percentage yield. Later on, R.A. Shedon calculated a new way of a percentage of atom economy is equal to molecular weight of a desired product divided by molecular weight of all product multiplied by 100. So which will give you the percentage of atom economy. But later on, the percentage of atom economy in general reaction can be calculated in a simple way. Formula weight or formula mass of atoms utilized divided by formula weight or formula mass of reactants into 100. That will give you the percentage of atomic weight. So here there are two set of reactions I have given. One is synthesis of para-bromoacetonolide and synthesis of cyclohexene. Now, when para-bromoacetonolide is to be prepared, for this we required bromine in acetic acid and acetonolide dissolved in acetic acid. When they are taken and shaken thoroughly, you will get para-bromoacetylhalide. If you calculate the yield is almost 100%. That means the amount of acetonide used and the amount of para-bromoacetylhalide formed, if you calculate, para-bromoacetylhalide is more. Therefore, this particular reaction is said to be atom economy. Similarly, when you carry out the Diels-Alder reaction between 1,4-butadiene with ethene to form a cyclic product cyclohexane, here the product formed will be 100%. A Nobel Prize winning atom economy green method of synthesis of carbon molecule known as metathesis was discovered by Yao Chang, R.H. Grubels and R.R. Sockist in 2005. It is a reaction in which the double bonds are broken and made between carbon atom in way that cause atoms or groups to change place with the help of a special catalyst. The alkenes pair exchange their atom and there is no loss of atoms. So this is the reaction where the Nobel Prize is obtained. So there are certain chemical reactions where 100% yield is possible. Now we will go for the next slide. You can see the reaction yield of any reaction can be calculated. Percentage yield is equal to actually yield. So A plus B giving C plus D as a product. What would be the yield of the product is known, and theoretical yield by its molecular formula we can calculate and divide the actual yield divided by theoretical yield of the compound multiplied by 100, that will produce the percentage yield. The reaction should have high percentage yield is considered to be more favorable for Now you can consider the another way of atom economy calculation. Atom economy describes the conversion of efficiency of a chemical process in terms of all atoms involved or desired products produced. So atom economy, percentage atom economy is equal to molecular weight of desired product divided by molecular weight of all reactant into 100. That will give you percentage atom economy. That means molecular weight of product divided by molecular weight of all reactants in the system multiplied by 100, that will give the atom efficiency or atom economy. If the desired product is more than the reactant, ultimately the percentage yield is also more. Now let us see the another aspect, conversion factors. So for the conversion factor also, let us see. Conversion factor is equal to amount of the reactant taken minus amount of the reactant unconsumed divided by amount of the reactant taken into 100. So this gives you conversion, that is the conversion is equal to amount of reactant reacted divided by amount of reactant taken in the reaction multiplied by 100. So that will give you the conversion factor. Similarly, when you see reaction selectivity, The reaction selectivity is equal to amount of desired product formed divided by amount of product expected on the basis of a chemical reaction, that is reactant in the system, multiply by 100. That will give you the reaction selectivity. Environmental load factor, it should be minimum. That is E is equal to environmental load factor. E is equal to the total mass of effluent generated divided by mass of desired product into 100. So this factor, it should be minimum. That means the total mass of the effluent means unwanted material, should be maximum compared to the total mass of the desired product. Then the environmental load factor is also plays an important role to count the atom economy. Now, the next three important principles of green chemistry that we will discuss are less hazardous chemicals, designing of safer chemicals, use of renewable feedstock. Yes, less hazardous chemical substances. Whenever practicable, synthetic methodologies should be designed to use and generate substances that possesses little or no toxicity to human health and the environment. So, one has to design a chemical reaction such a fashion that the less hazardous chemicals can be used in a chemical reaction. For example, in the synthesis of polycarbonate by using phosgene, a diphenyl compound on treating with phosgene get converted into a polymeric chain of polycarbonates. Here we are using COCl2, phosgene. So phosgene is considered to be hazardous because it is a highly toxic and corrosive one, and it requires to another solvent like dichloromethane to be dissolved. Dichloromethane is also a dangerous one, and at the end, whatever the product polycarbonate forms, it is contaminated with chlorine as impurities. So all these are the three important disadvantages possible for this reaction. Therefore, it is advised not to use phosgene for this chemical reaction. So use of the phosgene in the synthesis of polycarbonate is disadvantageous. Therefore, such hazardous chemical not be used in a chemical reaction. So less hazardous chemical synthesis is one of the important factor that the chemist or the scientist in general must think that what kind of materials are used, whether they are hazardous or not. If they are hazardous, please avoid such chemical reaction. So this is a main idea of this type of a chemical reaction. Designing the safer chemicals. So already I have quoted, when A, B react to give the product. What is the idea is, chemical products P should be designed to affect their desired function while minimizing their toxicity. So, a chemist in generally must think of or thought of that whatever the products are to be obtained through a certain chemical reaction, they should be produce a chemical which is safer. So it should not be any having side effect to the environment or even when come in contact with the human beings. So if that is so, then it is said to be a safer chemical. Otherwise, even if you just inhale or smell, or when come in contact with your finger, if it produces some impact on body or environment, then such chemicals are not advisable to synthesize. They are not safer. Therefore, the chemist should have a thinking of mind. So he should produce a chemical substances and he should have a designing of safer chemicals. Okay. So there's an example I have quoted here. One is limonite. This stereoisomeric compound exhibit different properties than pharmaceutical product, often consisting of that molecule, and the difference in the properties of the two forms can be matter of a little life and health death. For example, thalidomide. So product should be inherently safer for target applications. So one has to keep in mind that is a target molecule should be safer, otherwise such chemical reactions are not advisable. Use of renewable feedstock. The raw material for a reaction should be renewable. Suppose in a reaction, raw material is used, it is converted into a product. That product can be reconverted into original reactant material and can be utilized for certain chemical reaction. So such recyclization method is called as a renewable one. Whenever technically and economically practicable, such methods are usable. So renewable feedstock include agricultural product depleting ones are the mind of germinated from fossil. For example, in the green synthesis, the raw material should be replace the traditional petroleum sources. For example, benzene used in the manufacture for the commercial synthesis of adipic acid is replaced to some extent by renewable and non-toxic glucose, which is naturally available. This reaction carried out in water with microorganisms and biocatalyst. So you can see the reaction here. One can go for the synthesis of adipic acid by reduction of benzene to cyclohexane, which on oxidation in presence of catalyst gives cyclohexanol and cycloketone, which on treating with nitric acid in presence of copper metal and ammonium nitrate will get broken down into CH2 4 times COH, that is adipic acid, a long chain dicarboxylic acid and nitrous acid. This is a chemical reaction that we can carry out. Now, instead of doing with the benzene, let us see the D-glucose, which is available in nature, subjected for a biochemical reaction using E. coil as a bacteria, which will convert into a benzoic acid containing 2 hydroxy and ketonic group. Then that undergo dihydroxy benzoic acid. This further undergoes to form catechol. Catechol on oxidation gives monoconic acid. This on reduction gives adipic acid. Now, in the second step of the reaction, you can see very beautiful formation of adipic acid without using any chemicals, only E-coil. E-coil is one of the important material. Act as a biocatalyst, convert the D-glucose into adipic acid by several oxidation, reduction, reaction, 3-4 steps of the reaction, where the formation of adipic acid is possible. So this is with adipic acid formation in the chemical reaction. Now I will take another example where the raw material from renewable sources, for example, the paper mill slug, that's the waste of the paper mill, agricultural residue waste wood. So in the agriculture, we are using the waste, and the paper waste present in the municipality paper waste. So these three materials which are naturally available and they are thrown as a waste. Using these three, they are called as a renewable feedstock. One can convert them into linoleic acid. And we know this linoleic acid is one of the important material to convert it into large number of compound. Gamma butahydrate. So using the linoleic acid, you can convert it into gamma butaynate, then tetrahydrofuran, then field additive, that is MTHF, and acrylic acid, and butadiol, and succinic acid. So these are the various applications of what we say linoleic acid. But this linoleic acid is obtained by the feedstock like paper mill slug, agricultural residue waste, and municipality paper waste. Okay, so this is how the materials, feedstock material, are useful in day-to-day life. Now the next one is safer solvent and auxiliary. The use of auxiliary substances. So auxiliary substances means solvents or separation reagent should be made unnecessary whenever the possible or inconveniences when used. That means there are new materials act as a solvent for chemical reaction. For example, the better one is water should be used as a solvent for simple chemical reaction instead of hydrocarbons like benzene, toluene, xylene. Water is not usable, then one can use an eco-friendly solvent like supercritical CO2 or ionic solvent. As far as possible, the synthesis is carried out with solvents. Say for auxiliary substances, the solvents and separating agent, etc. Widely used solvents are toxic and volatile. So we are using most of the cases volatile, and they are very toxic in nature. Almost all volatile organic compounds are toxic in nature. Example, alcohol, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, benzene, toluene, xylene, etc. They have enough vapor pressure under normal condition to significantly vapor and enter the atmosphere and cause pollution. So these solvents can be replaced by using the most safest solvent like water, carbon dioxide, or ionic solvents. Now you can see a graph representing for carbon dioxide. If you plot the graph of temperature against pressure, so a triple point for CO2 is reached at a temperature 31.1 degrees centigrade and a pressure of 73.8 kilopascals. A triple point will going to exist where solid, liquid and gas, they merge into a single point called a triple point. And if you extend the temperature further, then at 31.1 degree and 73.8 kilocalories of pressure, a supercritical region will exist. And this supercritical region for carbon dioxide, where there is an equilibrium between liquid and gas is existing. Therefore, if the reactant under reaction system, there may be equilibrium with liquid as well as gas form of CO2, and they get converted into the product. And when the temperature becomes less, ultimately the solid form of CO2 will going to form and your final product will be separated. So here the CO2 acts as a solvent but not affecting the chemical reaction. Only at its supercritical region at 31.1 degree and 73.8 kilopascal pressure. So that means this is a peculiar substance which is replacing almost all toxic chemical reactions which are used in the synthesis methods. So, friends, the volatile substances can be replaced by carbon dioxide because of this peculiar property shown in the graph. Similarly, when you see supercritical water, organic substances are insoluble in water, that we know. But many of them are soluble when water becomes supercritical at 374 degrees centigrade, that is 100 degrees centigrade. And 218 atmospheric pressure. It promotes many reactions at temperature higher than 100 degrees centigrade. Many reactions have been carried out like Diels-Alder reaction, benzoin condensation, Beers-Welliger oxidation, Claisen condensation, etc. This is the cheapest and clean green solvent method. So the water can replace almost all solvent in green chemistry rather than the routine chemical substances. Now I will show you the possible solvents like water, acetone, ethanol, 2-propanol, 1-propanol, ethyl acetate, okay, isopropyl acetate, methanol. So these are most probably useful as a green chemicals as a solvent. But partially cyclohexane, heptane, toluene, methylhexane, methyl cyclohexane, methyl tertiary butyl ether, acetonolide, 2-methyl tetrahydrofluorine. So all these substances are moderately useful in a green chemical reaction. But pentene, hexene, diethyl ether, diethyl formate. So these are non-green materials. So they are not useful for a green chemistry. So water, acetone, ethanol, carbon dioxide, these are the green solvents used for almost all chemical synthetic methods rather than the unwanted, non-toxic, toxic and non-useful materials. So with this idea, today I want to complete the another episode of your green chemistry, and we will meet with another topic, another episode of this green chemistry, where the remaining 6 to 7 points I will discuss, and that may be the end of your syllabus. But friends, I would like to tell you one thing, that you will going to face the examination of first internal on probably 4th and 5th of January. And I would like to inform you that where the chemical paper 1, paper 2, chemistry paper are there, we are totally 4 members taking the PREDS for paper 1 and 4 persons will going to take paper 2. And we have set the question paper in accordance with the first topic which each teacher has taken. Suppose I have completed 2 or almost 2.5 topic. So the questions of mine will be only focused on the first topic, enolates, not on the rest. Okay. So likewise, both paper 1 and in both paper 2, we have set a 20 marks question of 1 marks each, where each teacher who will going to teach you will be given with 5 questions of only 1 marks. So only the Google format question paper will be displayed to you on 4th and 5th January. You open it and read the question and click the answer. There are 4 options given to you and try to get the maximum number of marks from that. So with these few words, so let me conclude the today's session and we will meet next week with another topic. So thank you friends. Thank you.